Friends, what's going on? Today we're studying Daf Lamed of Masechta Berachos. Let's do it. Oh, right, what are we talking about? Talking about stuff, man. We're just talking about stuff. Talking about what direction you should daven in, if you should daven Musaf, B'Yechidus. Oh, then we start the new parak, though. That's exciting. Start the new parak, the fifth parak of Berachos, which is going to talk about our mindset when we pray, which is cool. Let's get started. We are on Daf Lamed, Amud Aleph, about, 15 or 20 lines into the page already, by the two dots where it says, Hayarochev ala chamor v'chulei, if he was taka riding a donkey and he wanted to daven. Taner Banan, Hayarochev ala chamor, or if he's taka riding a donkey, v'giaz man tefillah, and it became time to daven. I don't know if that means kilu, it was nighttime and now it became daytime and now he could daven, or maybe he's running out of time to daven, so he's got to daven. Whatever it is, he's traveling and he's got to daven. So if there is somebody who can hold on to his donkey, so he doesn't have to worry about the donkey running away, so let that person hold the donkey and then he'll taka daven and zeu. If there's nobody to hold on to his donkey, so then he should just sit in his place and don't get off the donkey and just daven like that. Rebbe Omer, Zokt Rebbe, Benkach uvenkach yeshev b'mkom v'yispal l'fi shein daitum yusheves olav. Rebbe says, no, whether you have somebody who could hold the donkey for you, whether you don't have somebody to hold the donkey for you, either way, just stay on the donkey, don't get off the donkey, and just daven like that, because he says l'fi shein daitum yusheves olav, and Rashi says, if he has to stop traveling in order to daven, he's just going to want to get back on the way. He's just going to want to, he's just going to be thinking the whole time, look, I really just want to get back to the road, and he's not going to have kavanah. Whereas if he stays on the donkey, maybe even he continues traveling, I'm not exactly sure, but the point is that we don't want to interrupt his flow too much. So let him just stay on the donkey, and I guess the assumption is that he'll have more kavanah on the donkey than off the donkey. Okay. Amrava v'tem Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, halacha krebi. So it says Rava. Some say it was taka Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. The halacha is like Rebbe. Now I've been really geeking out on this chart that Hillel Lester posted to our WhatsApp group about all the Tanaim and Amoraim and the generations. Oh my gosh, man! Every time I see a name, I keep on looking it up. Anyway, so it's interesting that we say Amrava v'tem Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, because Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi was a first generation Amora in, I believe, Eretz Yisrael, and Rava was a fourth generation Amora in Bavel. So it's interesting that it would be like, I can understand some say it was Rav, some say it was Shmuel. They always kind of go together, same generation, same place. But Rava and Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, there's kind of a big difference there. Okay, but thank you, Hillel. Maybe at some point I'll memorize it and I won't have to keep on checking it. Okay. Taner Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Suma, somebody who's blind, and somebody who's unable to tell which direction to pray. Now, of course, the sun is always a good indication, right? If you're in the middle of, if you're traveling somewhere and you need to know which direction to daven in, so the first thing you have to do is you have to figure out where in the world you are, right? Meaning, you don't just always pray east. You pray east if you're like in the United States or Europe, then you pray east. If you're in the east, like if you're in Thailand or Singapore or any of those places, or China, so then you're going to taka pray west. So first you have to figure out where in the world you are, and then you could theoretically, if you can see the sun, so you could do it based on the sun, right? Obviously the sun sets in the west and rises in the east, so depending on the location of the sun, you might be able to figure out which way to pray. But anyways, if you're blind, or for whatever reason you are unable to figure out which way to pray, or maybe it's a cloudy day epis, or whatever it might be, so yichavin libo kineged aviv shebashamayim. So if you can't figure out which way to daven, so then just direct your heart towards your Father in heaven. Shneimar, it says V'spalel Hashem. So these are psukim, I believe, from when Shlomo Melech was like anointing, doing whatever the grand opening, whatever you would call it for the Beis Hamikdash, and he had this prayer, and it says there V'spalel Hashem. They will always pray to God. So even if you don't know which way to pray, for whatever reason, you can always just have your intentions towards God. So if a person is standing in Chutz La'aretz, so you should always face Israel, so wherever you might be. If you're in South Africa, I guess you would pray north. Okay? Shneimar, as the pasuk says, "V'spalu elecha derech artzam," that they will pray to you by way of their land. Hayomed be'Eretz Yisrael. If you're talking already in Eretz Yisrael, so Yichav Neslibo Keneged Yerushalayim. So then you should have your kavanah towards Jerusalem. Shneimar, "V'spalu el Hashem derech ha'ir asher bacharta," that they will pray to God by way of the city that you have chosen, which is Yerushalayim. Hayomed be'Yerushalayim Yichav Neslibo Keneged Beis Hamikdash. If you're already in Yerushalayim, so then you should face the Beis Hamikdash. Shneimar, "V'spalu el habayis hazeh," although, yeah, okay, beseder. Interesting that it doesn't say that you should face. It doesn't say, right, that you should, face Jerusalem or face the Beis Hamikdash. It says that your intent, your kavanah should be towards the Beis Hamikdash. But mistama, I have to assume, I don't know. It's interesting. It doesn't say you should face it. It just says that, like, if you're in Chutz La'aretz, so then your kavanah doesn't have to be towards Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim. It has to be towards Eretz Yisrael. What if you're in Eretz Yisrael? So your kavanah should be for Jerusalem. It doesn't say you have to face it, which is interesting. I don't know. All right. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, "V'spalu el habayis hazeh," that you should pray towards this house. Okay, the Beis Hamikdash. Hayomed beBeis Hamikdash. What if you're already in the Beis Hamikdash? So Yichav Neslibo Keneged Beis Kodshei HaKodashim. I mean, it does say that it says that he should, to Yichavein is like to align, sort of. So like you should align your heart, and if you're aligning your heart, some stomach, you're facing that same direction, I guess. But we also talk about aligning your heart when you also don't know which way to face. So it sounds like aligning your heart doesn't necessarily mean facing a specific direction, as more as facing a concept in your head. But okay, interesting. I wonder what it means lemaisa. Meaning, generally we always, of course, face Jerusalem or face the Beis Hamikdash, but I wonder if that isn't necessarily 100% supported by the text of the Gemara. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let us know. Don't be shy. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, "V'spalu el hamakom hazeh," that you should pray towards this place. This place, I guess, being a reference to the Kodesh HaKodashim. Hayomed bebeis Kodshei HaKodashim. So if he was already standing in the Kodesh HaKodashim, I assume that's limited to the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur. But if he's standing in the Kodesh HaKodashim, so Yichav Neslibo Keneged. So I have a letter here which changes around all sorts of stuff, which makes it read better. So I'm gonna do that. Okay. Now this might only be in my Gemara, so I apologize for anybody who doesn't have those other Gemara. But here goes. So Yichav Neslibo Keneged HaKaporis. So then, if you're already in the Kodesh HaKodashim, so then you should face the Kaporis. Hayomed Achori HaKaporis, Hofech Panav Leveis HaKaporis. Okay? So now if you were, so like the Kodesh HaKodashim, there's 11 amos of space between the Kodesh HaKodashim behind it and the wall of the Azara, right? Now the Azara being like the courtyard in the Beis Hamikdash. Meaning, if you look at the Beis Hamikdash, if you just kind of take a photo of the Beis Hamikdash, like a bird's eye view, so there's like a big chatzer of the Beis Hamikdash, and then in there's like a smaller kind of area, which is where the Ezras Nashim is, and then that's inside there would be like where the Kodesh is, and all of like the where all like the work happens and stuff. So between where all the work happens and stuff and the walls of the Azara, there were 11 amos. I think what I'm saying is accurate. And anyways, if he's standing in those 11 amos behind the Kodesh HaKodashim, like in between the wall of the Azara and the Kodesh HaKodashim, so then he faces the Kodesh HaKodashim. So Nimtza Omid B'Mizrach, I'm on the last of the 10 lines, Machzir Panav L'Ma'arav. If he is standing in the east, so then he faces the west towards the Kodesh HaKodashim. B'Ma'arav Machzir Panav L'Mizrach. If he's in the west, then he faces the east. B'Dar Machzir Panav L'Tzafon. If he's in the south, then he faces the north. B'Tzafon Machzir Panav L'Darom. And if he's in the north, then he faces the south. Nimtzeu Kol Yisrael Mechavnin Es Libam L'Makom Echad. So what turns out in the end is that you have all of the Yidden, wherever they are in the Welt, wherever they are all over the world, they're all facing one point, which is cool. Avi Nu mentioned in our group on WhatsApp a few days ago, about how, when you have, a number of people with the same intention, it has an effect on the outcome. So it's cool that every single day, you have people, focusing their energies and their intention on the same exact place, which is pretty cool. So where do we have a pasuk to support this? Kimigdal David Savarech Banu Salpios. It's a pasuk in Shir Hashirim. It says that your neck is like the Tower of David, built for people to see, and we define the Talpios Tel shekol pios ponim bo, the pile, the mountain, Jerusalem, that all of the mouths face Jerusalem to pray. Okay. Now, this next part is kind of interesting because we have people davening at all sorts of different times over here, and we're left to kind of pick up the pieces and figure out who's davening when and why and what's allowed and what's too early and what's not allowed. So I need your help over here. I can give you what I think, but what I think is not necessarily clear because the Gemara isn't clear, and even Rashi doesn't help us. It would be nice if he helped us with like Alos HaShachar, Netzachama, Misha Yakir, tell us exactly how everything fits in, but he doesn't. So he's a little bit vague, the Gemara is a little bit vague, we're left to pick up the pieces. So if anybody has any ideas that are different than the way I understand it, the way I understand it is by no means the only way to understand it, or the correct way even to understand it, so please share your thoughts with us. But here we go. So, Avua de Shmuel Vilevi, okay? So, Avua de Shmuel, I believe that this is the same Avua de Shmuel that we heard about on the first or the second page of the third parak, right? When Shmuel, right, Avua de Shmuel, it said that Shmuel's father was in charge of the money of the orphans, and then he died, and then Avua de Shmuel had to go to the cemetery to find his father. So I suspect that it's the same one, and over there, Shmuel then found Levi, that he wasn't accepted to the heavenly academy, and then he kind of pulled some strings to get him in. I wonder if these are the same characters. So Avua de Shmuel, the Levi. So Shmuel's father, as well as Levi. If they had to leave early to go somewhere, to travel, okay? So they would daven early. And then when Zman Kriyas Shema would come, they would then read Kriyas Shema. So the way that I'm understanding this is that, okay, so the way I'm understanding is like this, that Rashi is assuming that the proper time to daven is really Heinei Tzachama at sunrise. Now, you can already read Kriyas Shema from Misha Yakir. Now, they had to leave earlier than that. So what they would do is they would daven at Alos HaShachar, right, at dawn, right? We have dawn, like in the order of events, like dawn happens first, and then Misha Yakir happens, and then later on sunrise happens, okay? So the way I'm understanding it is that these Avua de Shmuel and Levi, they would wait till the earliest possible time to daven, which is dawn, which is Alos HaShachar, and then they would leave. And then when it would get to Misha Yakir, which is when you can already read Kriyas Shema, they would read Kriyas Shema then. That's the way I'm understanding it. Okay? So the Gemara says, Kiman, who is this like? Who would they do like? Kihai Tana, like the following Tana. The Tanya, as we learn in a Brisa, Hishkim Lotzeis Laderech, if you woke up early to travel, Mevin lo shofar v'tokea, they bring him a shofar and he blows it. I don't know why they're bringing him a shofar to blow it. Why is it Rosh Hashanah? Is he traveling Rosh Hashanah? Is it maybe Elul and he's blowing shofar in the month of Elul? I don't know. Lulav Menanea. Also, I hope that he didn't wake up anybody with the shofar blowing. I mean, we're talking about pretty early in the morning. That wouldn't be very nice. Lulav Menanea, and then he shakes it. If they give him a lulav and he shakes the lulav. Megillah v'koriba. If it's Purim, so he could bring him a Megillah and he could read it. Okay. Now I have this note that adds a very great word, which is umispalo, and then he also davens at this earlier time. Zman Kriyas Shema, and then when it becomes Zman Kriyas Shema at Misha Yakir, Korei, he then reads Kriyas Shema. Hishkim leishiv b'karanu b'sfina. If he wakes up early to go out on a raft or a boat, mispalo, so he praise. Uchshegi Zman Kriyas Shema, and then when Zman Kriyas Shema comes, Korei, he reads Kriyas Shema. Okay. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Zak Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar, Ben kach uven kach, Korei Kriyas Shema u'mispalo. Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar says no, don't daven at Alos HaShachar and then read Kriyas Shema later at Misha Yakir. Wait until Misha Yakir, and then you can read Kriyas Shema and daven, or maybe even wait till Netzachama Kilu and then read Kriyas Shema and daven at Netzachama. Once already you're going to be doing it while you're traveling, and even though you might not be able to have such great kavanah then, he says that better to be somech gula l'tefila, as the Gemara says, kedei sheyismach gula l'tefila, so that he could be somech gula l'tefila. And then we say, "B'may kamiflagi," what's the machlokes between the Tanakama and Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar? Ma'asav v'tefila mu'umad adif, that the Tanakama says that it's better to daven where you could stand up and you can have kavana, right? Even if it means that then you're going to be saying Kriya Shema later and you're going to miss out on smichas gula l'tfila. Umarsavar mismach gula l'tfila adif, whereas Reb Shimon ben Elazar says better to be so much gula l'tfila, so wait until either Misha Yakir or probably once you're waiting already, it would probably be better to wait till Henei Tzachama, till sunrise, and then read Kriya Shema and pray. And that way it'll be so much gula l'tfila, even though your kavana might not be as good. Okay, fine. Now, Mrema Umar Zutra, Havu Machnafe Be'asar B'Shabbat Derigla Umatzlu, V'Hadar Nafke Lefirka. So, Meremar and Marzutra, so now Meremar and Marzutra, they were the Rosh Yeshiva, so they were Rosh Yeshiva, or basically, as we talked about earlier in the Masechta, there was something called the Kala, right? That basically, before the Shalosh Regalim, they would have this big shir on Shabbos, okay? So when they would have this shir, so the question, they would start, the shir would begin early in the morning. So the question was always like, well, what do you do about Kriya Shema and Tefillah? I guess it was a long shir, and they would get started early, before sunrise. So what do you do about saying Kriya Shema and davening? You know, at some point during the shir, you're going to have to say Kriya Shema and davening. So the way I understand it is that Meremar and Marzutra's solution to this problem was that they would just push off the shir a bit. They would just say, look, if we start the shir before, too early, even before, maybe even before Alos HaShachar, I don't know. But if we would start it too early, then it's going to be a whole mess for how are we going to say Shema, how are we going to daven, how are the other people going to say Kriya Shema and daven. So they would just push it off until, let's say Netzachama, and then they would be so much and then they would say Kriya Shema, they would daven, and after that they would start the shir. So it was already light outside, so already a little bit later, but that was their solution. Okay, fine. Right, so it says Marema or Marzutra Havu Machnefe Be'asar B'Shabbat Derigla Umatzlu. So they would gather a minyan, before they gave the shir, and they would daven. V'Hadar Nafke Lepirka. Then afterwards they would go and give the shir. Okay, fine. Rav Ashi Matzli Badi Tzibura B'Yachid Miyushav. What Rav Ashi would do is he didn't want to have to push off the shir. Right, he had a lot to talk about. I guess it was one Shabbos where they got together to talk about all the halachos of the upcoming holiday. So he didn't want to push it off. So he would start the shir early. I don't know, maybe at dawn or maybe even before dawn. Who knows? And so then what he would do is that when it became Zman Kriya Shema, or let's say sunrise, so he would, as Rashi says, he would basically say a big chunk of teaching to the Meturgaman, who we've learned about a few days ago. That sort of the human microphone, so to speak. So the way it would work is that Rav Ashi would say part of the shir to the Meturgaman, the translator, and the translator would then project it to everybody else. So what he would do is when it became sunrise, he would just say a whole big chunk to the translator, and the translator would then project that to all the people there. And while the translator was doing his thing, he would quickly chaparayin and say Kriya Shema and be so much gula l'tefillah. And that was that. And he would do all that when he was just sitting there. So then when he would get back home, he would daven again, because the first time he couldn't really have so much kavanah. He was in the middle of giving a shir, but he needed to be yotze. Then when we get later, I don't know, maybe we would daven like mincha twice or something like that. I don't know. Amalei Rabbanan, so the Rabbanan said to Rav Ashi, V'lavid mar kimeremar marzutra. So why don't you just do like meremar marzutra and just push off the shir until after davening, and then you'll give the shir. So Amalu Trichali Milsa, he says, because I don't want to have to push off the shir, right? I want to be able to start early. I got a lot to cover. Okay. V'lavid mar kavua d'shmuel v'levi. So then why don't you do like avua d'shmuel v'levi and just daven earlier after Alos HaShachar, right? So just daven at Alos HaShachar, and then just right after Alos HaShachar, you'll start giving the shir, and then I guess maybe during the shir, you'll just say Kriya Shema when it becomes Man Kriya Shema. So because I don't see any other rabbis who are older than us that are doing this. So therefore, I don't want to rely upon it. Okay. So it sounds like we have, the way I'm understanding is we have three different options in this Gemara. We have the option, so basically the question is, what do you do if you don't have the luxury of davening on time, right? First of all, there are places where sunrise isn't until much later, right? So what do you do? I don't know. I think there are probably places in Europe, maybe we're like, sometimes sunrise isn't even till, not even in Europe. Where was I? I was somewhere recently where I think sunrise wasn't until 8 o'clock or something. What if you have to go to work and your mom's, what's the earliest possible time you could daven? So it sounds like, Avur de Shmuel V'Levi, they would already just daven Shmona Esrei after Alos HaShachar and then say Kriyas Shema at Misha Yakir. Merema Marzutra, they would wait until, I don't know, I guess let's say Netzach Hama, and they would be Somach Kula Tefillah, or at least until Misha Yakir, right, when they could say Kriyas Shema and then say Kriyas Shema and daven at the same point. And then Rav Ashi sounds like he agreed with Merema and Marzutra, just that he didn't want to have to push off the shir, so he would just start the shir early and then be Somach Kula Tefillah by himself while he's sitting there while the Maturgaman was saying the shir over. Okay, and then and with Rav Ashi, so then everyone who was at the shir, they would just individually, one by one, when it became Zman Kriyas Shema, they would just kind of slip out, daven, and come back. That's the way I'm understanding it. Fine, very good. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Omer says, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, "Ein tfilas hamusafin ella b'chever ir." Very interesting. So Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says that you only daven musaf v'tzibor, right? So kilu, if you have a tzibor, right, i.e. you have a shul or whatever, so then that's where you daven musaf. You never daven musaf alone, which is interesting. Also how this ties into the whole tfilos keneged avos tiknum or tfilos keneged musafin tiknum, right? And the whole rachame thing versus like halacha thing. Did I say keneged musafin, keneged karbanos tiknum? So basically, nobody's saying, everyone agrees that you can daven shachris, mincha, ma'ariv by yourself. Keneged avos tiknum, the forefathers prayed, so we pray. It's rachamim. We're always gonna, have rachamim even if we're by ourselves. But if we say tfilos keneged tmidim tiknum, so musaf, none of our forefathers prayed musaf. It's purely based on keneged tmidim tiknum. It's purely a halachic thing, and I guess these were communal offerings, and therefore we only pray with the community. We'll never pray on our own. Okay. The Chacham's opinion is that no, you always pray mincha. Even if you're by yourself, you pray mincha, it doesn't matter. And Rabbi Yehuda's got like a compromise position. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mishmo, in the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, that Kol Makom Sheyeshem Chaver Ir, Yachid Pater Mitfilas HaMusafin. So his opinion is that, no, if you're in a place where there's a shul, so then you don't say, you won't pray musaf by yourself because the Shliach Tzibor's got you covered. But if you're in a place like Indonesia where there's no shuls, and so then you're going to daven on your own because there's no Shliach Tzibor to be motzi you. Fine. It says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda Hainu Tanakama. So the Gemara, so we obviously explained already that Rabbi Yehuda is different than the Tanakama. But the Gemara says Rabbi Yehuda is the same thing as the Tanakama, which is that you only pray musaf with a minyan, but not without a minyan. Ike benayu yachid shelo b'chever ir. Oh, so the nafkamina is a yachid who lives in a place where there is no minyan. Oh, so Tanakama savar pater. So Tanakama will say you're pater because you only pray mincha with a musaf with a minyan. Rabbi Yehuda savar chai, but Rabbi Yehuda is going to say that he's taka asked to daven musaf because there is no minyan, there is no shliach tzibur to be motzi him, so he's prays musaf. Amar Rav Huna bar Chinana, Amar Rav Chia bar Rav, halacha Rabbi Yehuda sham Shimon Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Okay, so Rav Huna bar Chinana says the name of Chia bar Rav that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, that if you're in Indonesia and there's no minyanim, so you pray musaf on your own. Amar Rav Chia bar Avin, Shapir Ka'amar, and Rav Chia bar Avin Taka said, you said the right answer. You said you're understanding this Mishnah correctly and the halacha correctly. The Amar Shmuel, that Shmuel said, Miyamai, from all my days, lo matzlina tzlosa de musafin biyachid. I had never davened musaf when I was alone. Binarda. Levar me'ahu yoma, except for one time, that one day. Dasa pumusa de malka lemata ve'itri de rabbanan v'lo tzalu v'tzali li biyachid ve'avai yachid shelo b'chever ir. Right? And he said there was that one time when the army, the soldiers of the king, came to the city, and all of the chacham were intimidated, and they didn't go to shul that day. So I was a yachid shelo b'chever ir. There was no shliach tzibur that was going to be saying musaf, so that's why I said musaf. So zeo. But all the other times that I was by myself, I didn't pray musaf because I relied upon the shliach tzibur. Yosef Reb Chanina Kara Mishmei de Rabbi Yanai. Oh, so Rabbi Chanina Kara. So it sounds like we've been learning about these Tanas. We even had a show the other day. I think a Kara is like another one of these positions, right? Now, Rabbi Chanina, the Bible expert, was sitting Kamei de Rabbi Yanai. Now, again, from Hillel's chart, Rabbi Yanai apparently was a first generation Amora in Eretz Yisrael, and Rabbi Yochanan was a second generation Amora, which is interesting. I always think of Rabbi Yochanan as like a first generation Amora in Eretz Yisrael, because he's always like, I don't know, he's like, oh, I don't know, it doesn't really get higher up on the food chain than him. He's like always the source. But apparently he was only second generation, and Rabbi Yanai, who you don't hear about too much, he was a first generation. Anyways, so there was this Rabbi Chanina, the Bible learner, I guess. He was in front of Rabbi Yanai, and he said the following: Halacha Rabbi Yehuda Shami Mishum Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. So Yitaka said the same thing as we said a few minutes ago, that the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, that a yachid who's in a place where there's no minyan, that then he will pray musaf on his own. Amalei pok kira echa livra. Oh, so Rabbi Yanai said in a sort of facetious way, he says, hey, get out of here and go read your readings somewhere else. Because the halacha is not like Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Okay, fine. On Rabbi Yochanan, Zakt Rabbi Yochanan, Ani ra'isi es Rabbi Yanai, so I talk a Rabbi Yanai, did tzali v'ader tzali, that he davened a Shmon Esrei, and then he davened another Shmon Esrei. The implication being that even though he was davening by himself, he davened one Shmon Esrei for Shachris. Mistama, what was the second Shmon Esrei? Mistama was Musaf. So we see that he davened Musaf b'Yechidus, and I guess even though there was a minyan where he was, he still davened b'Yechidus, like the Chachamim's opinion. Okay? So interesting. So we see Rabbi Yochanan testifying about Rabbi Yanai, so I guess it would imply that maybe Rabbi Yanai was like from the previous generation, he was older, and Rabbi Yochanan is kind of learning from the actions of Rabbi Yanai that you would say Musaf even if you're not, even if you're in a place, a yachid in a place where there's a minyan. Okay. Amle Rabbi Yirmiyah Rabbi Zera. So Rabbi Yirmiyah said to Rabbi Zera, V'dilma meikara lo kivein daite, v'sof kivein daite. But maybe this isn't a proof that Rabbi Yanai was davening Shachris and then he davened Musaf. All we know is that he davened two Shmona Esreis. Maybe the first one was Shachris, and the second one was also Shachris. Meaning, he just didn't have Kavanah, so he davened again. So Amalei, so Zera said to Rabbi Yirmiyah, Chaziman gava rabba de kamasayid alei. So Rabbi Zera said to Rabbi Yirmiyah, he says, wait a second. Who are we talking about in this story? We're talking about Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan testified about Rabbi Yanai, about his Shmona Esrei activity. Now, if Rabbi Yochanan is saying that we learn from this story that Rabbi Yanai davened Shachris, then he davened Musaf, you can assume that Rabbi Yochanan got his facts straight before testifying this. So therefore, you can rely on Rabbi Yochanan that really the first Shmona Esrei was Shachris and the second Shmona Esrei was Musaf. And it's cool because my initial thought was to explain it that Rabbi Zera was saying, look who this great man Rabbi Yanai is that you're testifying about. Of course he had Kavanah the first time. But that's not what, at least how Rashi learns it. No, it's possible that even somebody like Rabbi Yanai didn't have Kavanah the first time and had to daven again. But the reason why we can assume that the second one was Musaf is because Rabbi Yochanan was testifying that the second one was Musaf, and we can rely upon Rabbi Yochanan that he would get his facts straight. Okay, fine. Rabbi Ami, Rabbi Asi, Afagav Dahavalu Tleisa Beknishta Betveria, Lavumatzle Ella Beni Amude Heichad Avugar say, this is a Gemara that we saw already on Daf Ches Amud Aleph, that Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi, even though there were 13 synagogues in Tveria where they lived, they would pray in the Beis Medrash where they learned. Itmar, it's taught by Amoraim, Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi, Mishum Rabbeinu Amar. Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi said the name of Rav, Rabbeinu is Rav. Halacha Rabbi Yehuda Shalom Mishum Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, that the halacha is taka like Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, but it would appear that we paskin like the Chachamim that you would daven Musaf if you're by yourself, even in a place where there's a shul. Sorry guys. Rabbi Chia bar Abba tzali, the other tzali. So Rabbi Chia bar Abba davened, and then he taka davened again. Okay. Amar Rabbi Zera. So Rabbi Zera said to Rabbi Chia bar Abba, My time of Marachi. How come you daven twice? If it's because you didn't have kavanah the first time, Ve'amar Rebbe Lazar, le'olam yimur adam es atzmo. Person should always evaluate himself. If he could have kavanah, he should daven. If you can't have kavanah, you shouldn't daven. So therefore, Reb Chia bar Abba, why did you daven twice? Right? Surely, of course, you had kavanah the first time, because if not, then you shouldn't have been davening in the first place. So Elad lo id karmar d'reish yarcha. Oh, so maybe then it's because you forgot to say Alav Yavo. V'atanya. But don't we have a brisa that says, now this brisa kind of reads, there's like lots of different ways to read this brisa. The Agos Sabach reads it one way, then there's like a different note that reads it a different way. I don't know. I'm just going to read it the way it's written. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. Honestly, I don't really understand it either way. So I'm just going to read it and translate it. But the point remains there. So, V'atani, we learn a brisa. If you made a mistake and you didn't say Alav Yavo at Mariv, Ein machzirin also, we don't make him go back because you could say it at Shachris. So the Gosabach gets rid of that part. Okay, B'Shachris, if you forget to say Rosh Chodesh at Shachris, Ein machzirin also because you could say it in Musaf. Okay, Musafin Ein machzirin also b'mincha. If you forget to say Yalav Yavo in Musaf, we don't say Yalav Yavo in Musaf anyways. Okay, well then you don't make him go back because you could say it in Mincha. Rashi says something about maybe like said the wrong Shmon Esrei or something, but then wouldn't you have to repeat it? I don't know. I don't really get it. Elalav itmar Allah Amar Rabbi Yochanan b'tzibur shanu. Amar le lav itmar Allah Amar Rabbi Yochanan b'tzibur shanu. Oh, so to which, however you learn that brisa, the point being that Reb Chia bar Abba responded to Reb Zera. The whole thing about not having to repeat Shmon Esrei when you forget Yalav Yavo, that's only b'tzibur. Now there's two ways of understanding b'tzibur. One of them is to say that if you are with the minions, then it's okay because you can just rely on the fact that the Shliach Tzibur is going to say Yalav Yavo. Another way to learn it that Rashi quotes from the Halachos Gedolos, the Halachos Gedolos, the Bahag, is that it's talking about a Shliach Tzibur that forgot to say Yalav Yavo. He doesn't have to repeat Shmon Esrei. Imagine if you're the Shliach Tzibur and you forget Yalav Yavo, and you realize, oh shoot, I forgot Yalav Yavo, and you got to start all over again, and everyone's waiting for you for Chazaras Hashatz, right? So that's okay because you're going to because of Tircha Tzibur. But a regular person would repeat Shmon Esrei, and therefore Reb Chia bar Abba is responding. It sounds like Reb Chia bar Abba is responding to Abzera. Says, actually, I forgot to say Yalav Yavo, and the whole thing about not repeating Shmon Esrei is not relevant to me because I'm just a regular person, an individual person davening. Okay. Kama Yasha ben Tefillah the Tefillah. Oh, so let's say you have to daven two Shmon Esreis, or let's say you want to daven Shachris and then you want to daven Musaf. So how much do you wait between each prayer? Can you just go immediately from one into the other? So Rav Huna, Rav Chizda. So we have Machlokes Rav Huna and Rav Chizda. So just another geeky comment. I always thought that I assumed that Rav Huna and Rav Chizda were the same generation because they always quote Rav. I assumed that they were both students of Rav, but apparently Rav Huna is second generation, Rav Chizda is third generation. I don't know. In my mind, they're the same generation. They're always doing like similar kind of stuff, and they're communicating with each other now. I don't know, as if they're the contemporaries. But I guess it doesn't change the facts of if one was born a generation before, I guess he's a previous generation. But I don't know. It would seem like, for all intents and purposes, for our study of the Gemara and for getting the context of the discussions, it would appear like they were kind of like in a similar context. But anyways, so Chad Amar Kadesha Tischonin Daitu Alav, Chad Amar Kadesha Tischolel Daitu Alav. So Rashi says that at the end of the day, Tischonin and Tischolel are the same thing. It means until you can be able to have mercy. You have to wait enough time until you can be able to have like Kavanah and have mercy in your prayers. So Manda Amar Kadesha Tischonin Daitu Alav, Dichsiv Eschanan El Hashem. Manda Amar Kadesha Tischolel Daitu Alav, Dichsiv Vayichal Moshe. Okay, one says Tischonin, one says Tischolel, and the one says Tischonin is because we have a pasuk that says Vaischanan, which is Lashon Tischonin. The other one says that, we have a pasuk that says Vayichal Moshe, which is Lashon Tischolel. At the end of the day, Rashi says that they have the same outcome, which is a person should make sure that he's in a place where he could be asking for mercy. Fine. Amarav Anan Amarav, Dr. Anan in the name of Rab, Tavlu Izka Shorosh Chodesh Arvis, Ein Machzirin also, the Fishem Bezdin Mekachin Es HaChodesh Ela Bayom. Oh, so if you make a mistake and you don't say Yalav Yavo at Mariv, no sweat. Don't worry about it. You don't have to repeat Shmon Esrei. At Shachris and at Mincha, you do it after repeat Shmon Esrei, but at Mariv you don't. And he explains because Bezdin would only be Mekadesh the Chodesh during the day. What is this Bezdin being Mekadesh the Chodesh thing? Basically, once upon a time, they didn't just look at a calendar and say, okay, Rosh Chodesh is this week. It didn't work like that. The way it would work is that you would have witnesses. The witnesses, you'd have regular people. They would look up in the sky at the end of the month. They would see, oh, there's a new moon. They would then go to Jerusalem, to the Beis Din, and they would testify. They would ask there was all sorts of interrogations, and they would be confident that these people are testifying accurately that they saw the new moon. And because we go by a lunar calendar, that would mean that it is a new month. And they would say Mikudash, Mikudash, and it's now Rosh Chodesh. Now that testimony and that whole thing would happen during the day. So if we think about a month like this month that we're in now, Chodesh Shvat, which has one day of Rosh Chodesh, so basically the night before this deliberation didn't happen, right? Meaning, what happened? These people would see the moon. They would come to Beis Din essentially the next day. Beis Din would say, yep, these guys are right. They would say Mikudash, Mikudash. Today is now Rosh Chodesh. But the night before, it hadn't yet been established Rosh Chodesh. So therefore we say that if you forget to say Ya'alav Yavo at night on Rosh Chodesh, so then you don't have to repeat your Shemona Esrei. Okay, fine, very good. Now I don't understand really the next line. And I think the Gemara doesn't understand the next line either. So I think we're in good company. Amar Meimar said, Meimar, Mistaver Milzad Rav B'Chodesh Male. I understand what Rav is saying on a full month, i.e. on a 30-day month where there's 2 days of Rosh Chodesh, because I guess on the first night of the first day of Rosh Chodesh, then you can definitely know that it's not Rosh Chodesh, because Rosh Chodesh is only the next day anyways. I don't really get it. But if it was only a 1 day Rosh Chodesh, if you forget Ya'alev Yavo, then you would have to go back at night. But what about what about Rav's whole reasoning that they're only Mekadesh the Chodesh during the day? Like, maybe he didn't hear of that. I'm not sure. Maybe he didn't hear of it, and he was just saying like, well, at night on the first day of Rosh Chodesh, we can know for sure that it's definitely not yet Rosh Chodesh. So, because on 2 days of Rosh Chodesh, the first day of Rosh Chodesh is the last day of the previous month, and the second day of Rosh Chodesh is the first day of the next month. So the night of the first day of Rosh Chodesh is, just the previous month. But I don't know. I don't really get it. Then why not say it about the Shachris and Mincha of the first day also? It's not the next month yet. So I don't really get it. But Amalei Rav Ashi la Meimar, Rav Ashi said to Meimar Michdei, let's see. Rav Taima Kamar. Rav gave us a reasoning. So let's just look at his reasoning. Mali Chaser, Mali Male, Ela Lo Shna. He gave a reasoning that Beis Din is only Mekadesh the new moon during the day. So it means that during the day you have to repeat Shemona Esrei, whether it's the first day, whether it's the second day of Rosh Chodesh, and at night you don't. That's that. Weiter. New Perek, 5th Perek. Ein omdin lispal ela mitoch koved rosh. We only get up to daven. Rashi defines koved rosh as hachna, humility. Okay, so you should be humble when you get up to pray. Chasidim are Rishonim, the original Chasidim. Now the Chasidim in the time of the Gemara were different than the Chasidim nowadays, right? The Chasidim nowadays, of course, is a Hasidic movement started by the Baal Shem Tov. The Chasidim in the Gemara were these very pious people, right? They come up from time to time. So these very pious people, they would wait a full hour, involved in some kind of meditation, and then only after that hour they would pray, and they would do this so that they can align their hearts with their Father in heaven before praying. Even if the king asks him how he's doing, he will not answer him. Now, I'm not sure if this is referring to these Hasidim or just we should never ever interrupt our Shemona Esrei. I'm not exactly sure. And even if a snake is wrapped around his leg, he should not interrupt the Shemona Esrei. Okay? Says the Gemara. So how do we know that you should only get up to pray out of humility? So by the pasuk in Chana, it explains at the beginning of Sefer Shmuel that Chana was unable to have children. She would go every single year with her husband to Yerushalayim, and there would never be any sacrifices brought for her children because she didn't have any children. One year she had enough, and she went to pray, and it says that she was very bitter. So I guess that bitterness kind of translates for our purposes to humility. The Gemara says, "Mimai demachana shiny tahavas mrira liba tuva." Maybe Chana is different because she was exceedingly bitter because she really really wanted children. Ella Amar Rabbi Yossi Rab Chanina mehacha. Rather, says Rabbi Yossi Rab Chanina from here, "Vani brav chazcha avo veisecha." Due to your great kindness, your exceeding kindness, I will come to your house, I will prostrate myself, I will bow down in your holy sanctuary, in fear of you. But Mimai, again, why should we bring a proof from there? Dilma, David shiny, maybe David is different, because he would sort of like, I don't know if the word is pain himself in mercy exceedingly. So maybe that doesn't necessarily apply to regular people like us. Says Rabbi Shua ben Levi from here, bow down to God in the splendor of His holiness, in the Beis Hamikdash. Don't read it in the splendor of your holiness, rather in the fear of your holiness. So we should be serious, we should be humble. Fine. Mimai, but again, maybe that's also not a good proof. Maybe it really means in the splendor of your holiness. I'll pray out of the splendor of your holiness. What does that mean? Rav Yehuda would get dressed up and then he would pray. So you'd make sure that he wouldn't just pray in his pajamas. Okay, oops. And anyways, he wouldn't pray in his pajamas. He would get dressed up and then pray. Okay. Amalei Rav Nachum bar Yitzchak mehacha. So Rav Nachum bar Yitzchak. No, so Ella Amar Rav Nachum bar Yitzchak mehacha. So Rav Nachum bar Yitzchak says that here is where we learn out that you should pray mitoch koved rosh. Ivdu es Hashem biyira v'gilu ber'ada. The pasuk says that you should serve God. Now, right as the Gemara, and the first, I believe it's the first half of Tanya says, Ezu avoda shebelev. What is the avoda shebelev? It's prayer. So you should pray in fear. So there you go. Now the pasuk says, "My v'gilu ber'ada." So the Gemara says, what does it mean that you should rejoice in re'ada, in trembling? Amar v'ada bar Masna, Amar. So the Gilion changes this to Rav. So Rav Ada bar Masna says to Rav, "B'makom gila shamte re'ada." Okay, that in the place of rejoicing, there should be trembling. I guess that even when things are getting happy, we're going to see a few stories in a minute, about places where like people were getting a little bit too happy, so somebody felt that they had to make them a little bit less happy. All right, we'll figure that out in a minute. Well, it even kind of starts here. So Abaye have a Yosef Kami de Rabba. So Abaye was sitting in front of his teacher Rabba, right? Often we see Abaye with Rav Yosef. Rabba and Rav Yosef were contemporaries. I think we're going to see, on the last half of Berachos that they actually switched off being Rosh Yeshiva in Pumbedisa. Okay? So anyways, Abaye was in front of his Rebbe, Rabba. So Chazi de Avakabadach Tuva. And I think Rabba noticed that Abaye was being a little bit too happy, joking around too much. Amar v'gilu b'ra'adaksid. So Rabba said, "No, Abaye." It says v'gilu b'ra'ada. You should rejoice with trembling, not joking around too much. Amalei ana tefillin manach. He says, "Yeah, but don't worry, I'm wearing tefillin. The tefillin is a constant reminder of me that I should not overdo it." Rabbi Yirmiyah Rabbi Yosef Kama de Reb Zera. So again, Rabbi Yirmiyah was a student of Reb Zera, as I discovered on the Hillel's chart. Reb Zera was a third generation Amora, a contemporary of the likes of Rav Yosef and Rabba, and Rabbi Yirmiyah was a fourth generation Amora. So Chazi Dav Kabbalah Tuva and Reb Zera, so that Rabbi Yirmiyah was joking around a little bit too much, and it's cool because it puts things into perspective, right? I can understand the hierarchy, I can understand the dialogue better this way. It's not just two random rabbis; it's actually an older rabbi speaking to a younger rabbi, and saying, "Hey, you're joking around too much." So Amalei b'chol etzev yiyeh mosar, right? So Rabbi Zera said to Rabbi Yirmiyah, it's good to be a little bit sad. Or the Metzudas David explains etzev as like amal, to like work hard. Don't joke around too much. So Ksiv it says. So Amalei on tefillin manachna. So Rabbi Yirmiyah said, "Don't worry, I'm wearing tefillin. I won't get carried away." My brei de Ravina avri lula livrei. So my brei de Ravina made a wedding for his son. Now this is also interesting, understanding sort of perspective of who's who, right? The tradition is that Ravina and Rav Ashi were the editors of the Gemara, right? So like where somebody like Rav Yehuda, who was a much earlier Amora, we usually have halachic statements from them, but because Ravina and Rav Ashi were actually the editors of the Gemara, so they could actually say stories like this because these are first-hand accounts of things that they know. They might not necessarily know stories with Rabbi Yochanan or Rav and Shmuel, but these stories are from their own personal experiences that they know. So my brother Ravina, so the son of Ravina, Abarilu Levrei made a wedding for his son. Chazinu l'Rabban d'Avukabat Chetuva, and he noticed that the rabbis were being a shtickle. They were joking a little bit too much. I say Kasa de Mukra Bas Arba Me'azuzeh. So what did he do? he took a glass cup that was worth 400 zuz, a very expensive cup, v'tover kamayu v'atzivu, and he shattered it in front of them, and they snapped into seriousness. Rav Ashi avad ilula levrei. Rav Ashi made a wedding for his son. Chazinu l'Rabbanan davu kabat chetuvan. He saw that the rabbis were joking around a shtickle too much. So he did a similar strategy. He took a cup of a white glass cup, and he smashed it in front of them, and they got sad. So it could be that the Gemara is now explaining to us what exactly was going on at this wedding for Marbred Ravina's son, that he had to shatter this glass in front of them to straighten them out. So basically it got to a point where they asked the Rav Amnuna Zuti, Lishrei lan mar, sing for us a song. And I guess that wasn't so nice. Amr Lehu, he said, Vailan demisnan. So he sang to them, I guess what must have been the hit of the day, which was, woe, we are going to die, woe, we are going to die. I wonder what the melody was. Amrle anon manane basrech, and he says, wow, that's beautiful. What, I guess that they assumed that there was like kind of like a sing-song thing. So like he says, whoa, we're going to die, whoa, we're going to die, and then they like respond something else. So they want to know, so what's the response? So what do we say? Maybe it was like a Grauman kind of thing, you know? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So maybe someone's like, we are all gonna die, da-da-da-da-da. And then Amar Lehu, he said to them, hey Torah ve'hei mitzvah demiganu alan, where's all the Torah and the mitzvahs that we've learned and done that will protect us? So I guess like, we are all gonna die, da-da-da-da-da. And then like, where is all the Torah and the mitzvah that is going to save us? It's probably something like that. And all right, I guess that wasn't appropriate. Amr Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, says Rabbi Yochanan in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, it's forbidden for a person to joke around too much in this world. Then our mouths will be filled with rejoicing and happiness. Emasai, when is this? At the time that the nations will say, wow, Hashem has really done great stuff with these people, but not right now. They said about Rish Lakish, that of course Rish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan were chavrusas, and they said that Rish Lakish never sort of rejoiced too much from the time that he heard this teaching from, what did he say? Did he say Rabbi Yochanan, his teacher? I mean, I guess so. There's a whole story about, his teacher. Okay, but they were chavrusas, basically. There's a whole story about how Rabbi Yochanan, Rish Lakish was like the head of the bandits, right? He was like a big robber. And Rabbi Yochanan, and basically, Rish Lakish one time found Rabbi Yochanan bathing or something like that, and Rabbi Yochanan was extremely beautiful or something. And basically, Rabbi Yochanan said that his sister is even more beautiful, and that if Rish Lakish would like, focus his strengths on learning Torah, he could marry Rabbi Yochanan's sister. And anyways, then they became like chavrusas. Anyway, shkayach everybody. I hope you enjoyed today. And yeah, coming up on the upcoming pages, they're going to be kind of similar to at the beginning of the Masechta, with lots of agadata, lots of psukim and things like that. So just letting you know, some big pages coming up, but hopefully it should be fun. Peace out, friends.